Thank you very much, Marge, and thank you all for being here, and thanks to People for the American Way, Public Citizen, and all the other organizations who are working so hard to help us overturn what I believe history will record as one of the worst Supreme Court decisions in the history of our nation. This country faces enormous problems. The middle class is declining, poverty is increasing. We're worried about global warming, we're worried about healthcare, we're worried about education. And the American people are looking to Washington and they say, what's going on? We have enormous problems and you're not addressing those problems. And I think what everybody in this room understands is that one of the reasons that Congress is not addressing those problems is the power of big money in terms of campaign contributions and in terms of lobbying. Working people are trying to keep their heads above water, and here on Capitol Hill, all kinds of money is flooding into this institution so that Congress spends day and night worrying about the wealthy and the powerful and forgetting about the middle class and working families. That's what we've had historically. And then 2 years ago, 5 people in the United States of America came to the conclusion that a corporation is a person. Unfortunately, those 5 people are on the United States Supreme Court. And what they said is that because a corporation is a person, that person is entitled to First Amendment rights. Therefore, corporations, Bank of America, Citigroup, ExxonMobil, just like you and me, they can go into their corporate treasuries and spend as much money as they want in campaigns to buy politicians and to buy elections. Well, let me tell you, in the state of Vermont and in America, we do not believe that that is what democracy looks like. And I, along with Congressman Ted Deutch, have offered, as you know, a constitutional amendment. My good friend, Senator Tom Udall of New Mexico, has offered a constitutional amendment. They vary a little bit here. But ultimately, this is what we are fighting for. At the very deepest sense, we are fighting to make sure that America does not become an oligarchy where people with unlimited sums of money control the political process and the economic process. We are fighting for grassroots democracy, and we're going to win this fight because you're going to help us at the grassroots level, and most importantly, because the people of the United States understand that allowing big money interests to spend unlimited amounts of money on campaigns is not what people fought and died for to maintain this great country and our democracy.
Thanks. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here today with so many people who are dedicated to returning our democracy to the American people by overturning Citizens United. Marge was right earlier when she said that this is a movement moment that we have here, and it is a pivotal moment indeed. Our campaign finance system's long been imperfect, but since Citizens United, the landscape has changed so dramatically, with super PACs like American Crossroads dumping nearly $40 million in defeating candidates. In 2010, we saw what happened. Now, for the first time, the American people are getting a taste of what Citizens United looks like nationally. Already in 2012, spending by non-campaign organizations is nearly 250% ahead of what it was in 2008. The Supreme Court's handed special interests a corporate megaphone capable of drowning out the interests of everyday Americans. Malicious attack ads are layering our TV airwaves and they're coming from these groups that claim they have nothing to do with the candidates. Well, when Americans go to the grocery store to buy food for their families, when they fill their car up with gas, when they buy medicine if they're sick, they don't expect that money that they pay to be used in a political campaign. Last November, I introduced a constitutional amendment to make clear that corporations aren't people, money is not a protected form of speech, and I'm proud to have worked with Senator Sanders on that. But Senator Udall has introduced a great amendment. And so many of my friends in the House have introduced really important constitutional amendments as well. The reality is we're a long way from ratifying the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. This amendment process is about a ground game. It's about Americans everywhere signing petitions and taking action and charting out a path to a more perfect union. It's about Resolutions Week, which is an incredible effort, an effort being undertaken by Public Citizen, Move to Amend, CWA, and so many other groups, helping activists pass resolutions all across the country. It's about the Declaration for Democracy. And it's about a simple question of whether people across the country who are running for office stand with the American people or stand with the special interests. At the end of the day, I'm proud to be in the room with all of you, with people who understand how important this issue is, committed to the founding principle of our democracy, a government of the people and by the people and for the people. Ours cannot be, and this is I think the one thing that's most important that all of my colleagues understand, that ours cannot be the generation. We cannot be the generation that allowed our elections to be bought and sold by corporations and the super rich. That's what this whole process is about. That's why I'm so proud to be here with so many of my colleagues and so many activists from all around the country. And it is my great privilege and honor to introduce some of my colleagues. We'll see in a way of moving this along. I'd like to introduce Congresswoman Edwards, followed by Congressman Conyers, Congresswoman Sutton, Congressman Sarbanes, and Congressman Ellison, and then we'll see who else has fallen in. But it's a great honor and privilege for me to be here with so many good friends who are so committed to this important task. Thank you very much.
Thank you to my colleague, Congressman Deutch, and also to our colleagues from the Senate. I'm Donna Edwards. I represent Maryland's 4th Congressional District. And I was just thinking as I was looking at this room of advocates from all around the country, I began my career 20 years ago at Public Citizen working on campaign finance reform. If only. And completely circumscribed by the Buckley v. Vallejo decision that Senator Schumer spoke about. We could not have imagined a world 20 years ago where today we're faced with a horrific decision by the United States Supreme Court in Citizens United that completely upends everything that we know about the people's role and the people's voice in our democracy. And we can't allow it to stand. 2 years ago when the Citizens United decision was announced, Chairman Conyers and I joined together in introducing a constitutional amendment 1 week after the decision. I think that we are a long way from that point here, but what we see is all across our the House and the Senate, a number of us coming together with various different ideas about how we need to amend the Constitution to respond to an environment in which corporate money, in which individual wealth is dominating our politics. It's only this election cycle that we're able to see the millions and millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars that will be spent in this election cycle that will upend our campaign finance system, upend our elections. And people are feeling increasingly at a distance from their participation in the process because the money has become so overwhelming. And so the question is not whether we should amend the Constitution. 72% of the American people, 78% of the American people in some polls agree that we should amend the Constitution to respond to this crisis. The question is whether we will have the leadership in the House of Representatives, in the United States Senate, to reflect the will of the American people to return elections back to people. And we can do that. And we can do it by the power of the advocacy that's demonstrated right here in this room. And so the fact that John Conyers and I have one constitutional amendment that some have signed on, that Ted Deutch and Bernie Sanders and others have other ideas, is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing, because I will be pleased and proud to join in signing a declaration for democracy that all of us can sign on to, with the idea that we need to debate this, get it out of the way, restore elections to the American people, return elections and the voice of the American people back into our elections process. And if there's anybody out there who's wondering why it is that people aren't participating in elections at the rates that they should be, why it is that people have a distance between themselves and their elected officials, you have no further to look than the damage that's been done by the Supreme Court in deciding Citizens United that took all of the money out of our system and put it in the hands of a handful of people who are going to determine our elections. It's time that we take it back. Thank you very much.